must see. Get up on your feet, rise up.
Hello, welcome to another segment of the Drexel Seymour Show. This is a special edition of this show as we honor mothers. And I want to take this opportunity by saying Happy Mother's Day to everyone. I know a mother's job is never done. And so with that, I thought it'd be nice to have a show dedicated to mothers. I think sometimes we take our mothers for granted. And so I invited Minister Judy Knowles, Deaconess Lucille Jones on the show to talk about how it is to be a mother, the love of a mother. Would they do anything to be a mother, for their children, sorry. And I want them to introduce themselves before we get into the show. Please introduce yourself. And thank you for being on the show. I know you could have been somewhere else, but you're here with me today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I am Minister Judy Knowles. I lead worship here at the Community Fellowship Center, and I enjoy being a mother.
I'm Lucille Jones. I lead the women's ministry here at Community Fellowship Center. I'm the mother of two beautiful girls, adult girls, and it's been a joy. It's been a journey and a joy to be a mother.
Yes. Now, Sister Judy mentioned it was a joy. Well, what you say is joy being a mother? Tell us about the joy of being a mother, and how long have you been a mother?
For many moons now, many decades. I have 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter. I have 3 grandchildren, and I enjoy their presence. I enjoy their company, their conversation, the times that we would have together. Those are some of the most valuable moments of my life. And it isn't difficult parenting them, because for the most part, they've been, rather cooperative. We've had our challenges, but nonetheless, we've decided that this family will carry out the word of God. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. We enjoy being together, holiday times, and any opportunity, especially when it's dinner time. It's a wonderful time to have them and to just enjoy them.
Yeah. Do you find yourself, of course, when you were a child and your mother raised you, your parents raised you, do you find yourself repeating some of the same things that they did to you with your children, or you took a different route?
My mother was had a very prominent presence in my life, and I find myself repeating the things that she instilled in me in raising my children. And one of those things was, she said to me, you must always ensure that you have something for them to eat. I said, okay. She said, because families are built around meals.
Oh.
Really? So her take was, she would get up early, especially on a Saturday, and prepare this meal. And then she would call each one of us who were at her fingertips, and she would say, bring the bowl so you can get your portion. Now, she said, bring the bowl. I would show up with the bowl. And then she would ask me, where are the children? Okay? So this was her way of, quote, keeping us together to a certain extent. So when I would go and get the meal, sometimes she would tell me, well, go back and get the children. And I would do just that. So repeating the patterns that I was privy to, I really see my family at my age being lived out in my children at their ages. So they were quite influential. My parents were my mother in particular was very influential in my life.
So what was it like when your first child, what was it like when you became a mother for the first time?
That is the $1 million question. A question that I don't think many people are aware of. I was a teen mom.
Oh, you were?
I was a teen mom.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. And having been a single mom for the first however many years of my son's life, being married and having now this whole family experience, my life took a completely different turn. Things were different. My husband, Sister Harvey made reference to her handsome husband, so I have to make reference to my handsome husband. Recently, I looked at the numbers and we're into our 39th year of marriage. And with that being so, I look at what it was from both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
I don't encourage my first statement, being a teen mom, being a single mom, and it's an extremely challenging situation. But I was grateful that in that situation I was in, I came to know the Lord, and He surrounded me with wonderful women who helped me raise my son to the point that he was at until, we had a proper home established. And this time of living out his young years, we used to sing a song to each other. I don't think he even remembers it because we, it was just us. We used to sing a song that said, "You and me against the world." Sometimes it feels like you and me against the world. And I realized that was the part of me that was crying out for the other half of his life. And then my husband now, of near 39 years, he came into the picture and he made such a marvelous change in our lives, serving the Lord, having a family altar, having an opportunity to work in ministry, all right? He was in the choir, I was in Sunday school, so we now had interest in molding the children in the ways of God, because now we were instrumental in raising other children, spiritual children as it were. So I have had an experience, and I look at my family now and I wouldn't trade them for silver or gold.
Oh, wow. Very good. So, Sister Lucille, you are the mother, as you mentioned, of two beautiful daughters.
Yes.
I know prior to the show you had a miscarriage, or
My first child, she was born with multiple medical issues, and she passed away when she was 5.5 months old.
oh wow,
And at that point, I thought, I'm not going to have any more children because I can't go through this kind of an emotional stress. But then the doctor said to me, you need to go get pregnant right away. And I got pregnant, and I had my eldest daughter, my now oldest daughter. And in between that daughter and the youngest one now, I had a miscarriage. On Christmas morning, I told my husband, you're going to be a father for the third time. And that night, I lost a baby.
Oh.
And but God is faithful. And like Sister Judy said, God put women around me, godly women around me who supported, who encouraged, who prayed for. And even on those times when I felt like I started to question God, because I got married kind of late. And why? I waited to have children, and then first the one sick, the new one, and then to lose the second one, the boy. But God is faithful, and he keeps his promises.
He does.
So, as I said, it's a joy.
Yeah.
I was able to. My husband passed away about 16 years ago now. So the girls were still in high school. They were still fairly young. And again, talking about God's faithfulness and placing a family, placing people in your life who support, encourage you, not just talk, but who were there to actually take the children, help with their care, help provide for them, even in those times. So that's brought us to this point where they're now adults.
Yeah.
You know, going through university and now young professionals
Yes.
working and taking care of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that has been a joy.
Yeah, but I mean, how was it for you? I know you say you had help and people, volunteer their time and help with you, but it must have been challenging for you
It was challenging.
after you lost your husband.
It was challenging. He was the breadwinner, meaning that although I worked, he was the primary breadwinner. So now I have 2 daughters in private high school and working at a job. Of course, I don't own the job, but working at the job in a supervisory capacity. And it was challenging. I found myself selling off property that was supposed to be as part of their heritage to help to make the ends meet, to help cover the cost. And as I said, there have been some people who stepped in financially to help so that at the end of the day, they were able to go through university. I remember my oldest girl, she was in her last semester at university and school fees needed to be paid. And that day, if the fees weren't paid, she was not allowed to take her final examinations after all these years. And the deadline came, and just right here at church, one of the women from church, after church, she saw me and she said, "Sister Lucille, how are you?" I said, "I'm fine," with a big smile. And she says, "No, Sister Lucille, how are you?" And I said to her that, I had this need financially, and she went to her car and she got $1,000. She said, "I've been saving this for something special. And the Lord told me to give this to you." And I was able to pay the last fees, and they allowed her, some other folk, and, but they allowed her to take that final exam in order for her to graduate university. So that's how God provides.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Sister Judy, I know you have 1 daughter and 2 sons. Sister Lucille just have daughters. Did you find they're different? I mean, of course, each child is unique, but you find raising boys was harder than raising a girl?
I refer to my daughter, even if she doesn't know. She kind of surprised me, all right? I was parenting 2 boys, and I thought I had it down pat. So I was very much surprised when this girl showed up, and that changed the dynamics altogether. But one thing I found about her was that she was a very smart girl. She learned quickly, and when it came to doing things, she would catch on and follow through. They're going to kill me for this one, but here she is. She's 20 months younger than the brother that preceded her, second boy, Kyle. And she taught Kyle to tie his shoes.
Oh.
Yes. She was always a mommy's girl. I remember when my boys would be knocked out to the world, and I would have occasion to walk the floors, as we would say. There were many nights that I turned around and she was right behind me. So I don't know whether she would hear me or whatever would have brought her back out to the living room, and I would say to her, "Don't do that. Mommy don't want to fall on you." Or she's always had a propensity for prayer. And the thing that really brought that home to me was when she was getting ready to sit GSAT. We would have 5 a.m. prayer here at church. And one morning I heard this voice say, "Can I go?" I said, "Sure, come along." "What's the matter?" She said, "I need some prayers so I could pass this GSAT." And so said, so done. Thank God she passed. And, so parenting a girl has its differences, of course. You have standard differences. But she wasn't any sort of a challenge, maybe not until, puberty and all the rest. But we were able to sort things out and let God be God.
Yeah.
I was grateful, trust me.
What about the discipline part of raising children? I mean, I know growing up in my era, and of course your era as well, we got beat a lot. I think if our parents were around right now and doing what they're doing, I think people would probably call it abuse. What about you raising your children? Did you beat them or you put them in timeout? What sort of disciplinary action?
My children got spanked.
They got spanked?
They got spanked. And my youngest daughter had the habit of staring me down when I spanked her. So she got spanked until she cried.
Yeah.
And you really think it works?
Yes.
Yes. I believe in that verse that says, you spare the rod, you spoil the child. And at a young child, a very young child, can't reason to understand that when you talk to them, don't do this, don't do that. But it's when there is some action that follows that says, this is wrong or that is wrong, then they begin to understand. If children are older, yes, but you have to teach them to learn that timeout is punishment. You withhold some benefit or some activity from them. But I believe that spanking helps children to understand that there are some things that are wrong and that and it can be corrected, because after a while they understand and then they change their behavior. I mean, that's not the only thing that you would do in terms of discipline, just spanking. But of course you will explain, you will encourage, you will teach them a different way, give them an alternative behavior to follow.
Well, what are your thoughts?
I support her 100%. In the book of Proverbs, we are told, I cannot identify the chapter and verse right now. If you beat the child with the rod, he will not die. You will spare his soul from hell. And as we say, that's in the Bible.
Yes.
It also says foolishness is bound up in the heart of the child, but the rod will drive it out. I'm not advocating, being brutal, but there has to be some understanding that my word, your parents, their word, that it has to be obeyed. And if it is not obeyed, the consequences will come. And I would prefer the consequences to come while they're little,
From me.
as opposed to the law later on in life. All right? So if you talk to my children, they will probably have a different story to tell you. But yes, we had some spanking going on.
And did you find that the mothers were more the disciplinary one than the fathers?
Yes.
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 Daddy was so special. Daddy was our hero. He could do no wrong.
Because he didn't beat.
He didn't beat.
And the same thing in your house as...
It was the same thing in my house.
Listen, I remember once my father saw me spank my daughter. He was petrified. He said, "You spank your only girl?"
Don't
And
put
I
a
said
guilt
to
trip on
him,
you.
"You spanked me too." He said, "Me?" Now, having said that, we have to understand that God has given us these children, and we have a responsibility to them and for them. So when things go left, and God forbid the authorities have to come when the law has to come in focus, they want to know what kind of parents these children had that would let them get away with what they do with no recourse. And we end up, having to really rethink the things that we have done.
Yeah.
If we spank them, and I repeat, if we spank them, it's better that it's done at home than outside.
Yeah.
So that's my take.
And do you find yourself, all your children are adults now, but do you find yourself still interfering in your children's life Because my
Not
mom,
interfering.
huh?
Not interfering.
Oh, oh, getting, maybe I used the wrong word. Because let me tell you something, my mom, right? Like when I used to go visit South Caicos, you know my mom. And, boy, you baked? You sure you baked good? Mind you, I'm an adult, you know.
Because she's a parent.
She is a parent.
She's a parent.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
No, but I find now that my girls will seek out my advice.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Okay, so you don't really interfere.
I would still say things, but I wouldn't use the same approach now
No.
as I would have used when they were younger.
Right.
But I would make an observation about a situation,
Yeah.
and it is clear that I'm addressing that situation.
My position is this. I'm sorry. I swallow a lot of words. I am very talkative. So I have learned the art of silence.
I see.
Okay. So if there is a situation, I now wait until they bring it, as opposed to say, hey, so and so, because I've observed their response to my mouth, to my advice, and sometimes it's not always invited. All right.
Yeah.
Because now remember, from both of our sides, and Sister Harvey as well, we're dealing with adult children now.
Yeah.
And we have to give them the opportunity to make their decisions, have their failures, have their faults. But the whole idea is to be in place
Right.
when they present the cases to you, and you gently say to them, X, Y, Z. We have to, the old folks say, see and don't see, hear and don't hear, but just be available to offer some kind advice, some godly advice when the matter presents itself.
One of my daughters one time said to me, you know, giving the advice and all that, she said to me, why don't you let me put into practice what you've been teaching me? And that made sense to me.
Yes.
And at that point, when that statement was made to me, at that point I decided, you know, just like Sister Judy, I'll step back. This is an adult now, and she will not be able to make decisions and come to and gain the wisdom and the knowledge unless she has the opportunity to make the mistakes. And now, you know, rethink the decisions that are made and make an assessment of a situation so that the outcome is better for her.
Right.
And so that made an impact on me. Let me put into practice what you've been teaching me.
Right. There's a friend of mine, and she said when her husband proposed to her, she accepted the proposal on one condition, that there are no children. She don't want any children. What do you say what are your rewards of being a mother? I mean, I find it selfish. You know.
I don't think she's selfish as much as I don't think she's ready.
Yeah.
You don't think she's ready?
No, I don't think she's ready. She's in love. She wants this husband. And life tends to come with a package.
Well, they've been married for more than 20 years now.
Wow.
And no children.
No children.
By choice.
Yes, that was the condition.
And he accepted
And he loved
that.
her.
He loved her. When my husband proposed, I was the breadwinner in my family. My father had passed on. My sister and my brother, I am many years older than my sister. My sister was a baby, and my brother was just a little older than a toddler, still in kindergarten when my father passed. And so I was the breadwinner. My mom and my brother and sister, baby brother and sister, lived with me. So when my husband proposed, it was, you're not just marrying Lucille. You have a ready-made family. You have a ready-made family. So you have to stop and think whether you are prepared to take on this family. 2 little children that have to go through primary and secondary and high school, secondary school, and on and beyond. You know, so that was his position. He had to rethink that. I told him, you go get some counsel for that before you decide that you want to ask me to marry you.
I know you have more than one child.
Yes.
Do you find yourself thinking you have favorites?
Not me.
You don't have any favorites?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Different personalities.
Totally.
One is like me, and the other one is like my husband.
No.
Different personalities.
I established a long time ago, just like she said, they are all of different personalities. I love this one because they do this. I love this one because they do that. And when I bring it all together, I am smart enough not to know we don't have favorites. I told my children, you all will live in peace if you die trying. And when you begin to cultivate an atmosphere of favoritism, that only lends to trouble.
Not just
But I mean, you don't intentionally do it. I mean,
It comes out though. It comes out.
Yeah,
It comes out.
yeah.
All right. And when it does, there's that little vein of animosity. It's not that you hate your brother or your sister, but you just feel as though they are that more special than you. So
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's very good. That's very good. Yeah, my kids think I have a favorite, but
they may think that, but
Yeah.
I don't.
yeah.
You know, like I said, their personalities are
totally
so different.
Yes.
They're so different.
Have you ever been in a situation where your children got into trouble, and how did you deal with it?
My children, as far as I know, have not been in any trouble.
Okay.
You know, and so I wouldn't know how to answer that. But I do believe that they're my children, and I have a responsibility before God to be a support for them. And so I would have to step forward and stand with them, you know?
Yeah.
I've seen my mother. I have a brother that one time had trouble, and I saw my mother stepped up. He was being held in prison pending whatever the outcome of the investigations, and she submitted herself to going to the prison and allowing herself to be searched just so that she could go there to be a support. And so I guess that's the example that I have to follow. God forbid any trouble should rise.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, Judy?
You mothers are mothers to the last breath. In the good times and in the bad. And what I've discovered, I have had to learn that in many instances, you are your child's support system. No matter what transpires in life, you are their support system. And having to deal with matters, I just had to avail myself to being mommy. It's not a judgment call. It's not why did you or how did you. It's I am mommy. And it's interesting enough that no matter how it pans out, your children are looking to see how you're going to respond to them. You know, many people may allow their tongue to get in the way. Who, me? Not me. I'm not going to do this until you are faced with an issue. And the only person that child needs is a parent. That child needs a parent. And if you remain in your role, you will have the respect of your children for the rest of your life. You know, it's not easy. It's not anything that anyone would want at their doorstep, but life happens. So when life happens, you have to put on your boots and stand strong. Trust God, and relying on Him is the principal thing. All right, because now you have to show the world that you are just who you say you are. You're not going to turn your back. This is your family. And another thing I say to my children, our home is your haven. When the world has kicked you around, people have done this or done that, you need to have a place where you can come and feel safe.
Yeah.
You can feel protected, you can feel cared for. And that is something that I strive for. Peace.
Yeah.
Peace.
Do you have any closing remarks that you want to say as being a mother, or anything special you want to say?
I just say that being a mother is a privilege. And sometimes some people don't see it as that. I know women who want to have children, to have their own biological children, and they can't. And I've known people who have had children and they treat them loose and it is no special thing to them. But I see it as a privilege. I may not be the best at it, but I do believe that God has given me, it's a gift to me. And I pray that at the end of the day, that when I would have passed on, my children, and there have been some children that I've had the privilege of helping to mold, as a mother. I pray that when my time has come, that they will remember me kindly, not just my mistakes, because of course you become a parent without a manual, so to speak.
True.
You understand? So it's learning on the job. So I pray that, at the end of the day, that whatever I would have done would have been remembered.
A great legacy.
Kindly. And that the children will remember the things, the principles that have been instilled in them, and that they will pass that on to their children, as we honor God with our lives. Because that's the guiding light, honoring God in this role or any role, but as a mother.
One day I was in the food store, minding my own business. And this little voice said, "Mommy!" And I said, "Yes." I deem being a mommy one of the most precious roles in my life. And trying to pass that on to my children, my sons to be good fathers by virtue of what they saw in the home, my daughter to be a good mommy by virtue of what she experienced in her growing years. I want to say to the women of our community, life hands us different roles. Sister Lucille made reference to some people not having children. And then there are others who have children and they don't play out their role. But remember, we're raising the future.
Yes.
We're raising tomorrow's leaders, and they will emulate what they see in us. So when we look at, we hear so much about the teen pregnancy and all that is contrary. I want to say to those teen moms, collect yourself. You don't have to repeat yourself. And be the best mommy that you can be. Your role in life has changed tremendously. After you have a child, you are no longer a loner in life. Everything that you do is going to trickle down to that child. To the moms who are feeling frazzled and I don't know what to do with these children, pray. God hears and He answers prayers and He brings solutions to your situations. To those who are feeling as though, I don't have anything to offer, you'll be surprised to know what God has put in you.
Yes.
The potential that you have to bring change to some life. And it will be to your blessing. I was in Jamaica a few weeks ago, 9:30 at night, and I heard Mrs. Knowles I was petrified.
Someone in Jamaica
In
knows
Jamaica knows me. And the young man, he turned around. He said, "It is you." I haven't seen him in how many years?
you. Oh, wow.
And he
You
told
remember?
me, he said,
Wow.
"My life has turned around now." Showed me his finger.
Oh, he's married.
I'm married,
Mm,
and I'm like,
good for him.
good for him.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, he's a former student, and I remember him very, very well
Mm,
because
Because.
But in the same token, to see that he remembered whatever I was able to share with him, to implement, right. I'm looking at this young man and saying, God, it's so worth it
Yeah.
to be able to minister to the lives of those around you.
Yeah.
And when you least expect it, it turns back for your favor.
yeah.
So moms, take heart, take courage.
Yeah.
Don't feel as though all is lost. And
try to do it
that
alone.
child that you think is not going to do well, you make it your business and you give them extra prayers
Yes.
and watch God turn things around.
Yeah.
So women, take courage. Be the best mom you can be. And to all of you who may be listening to this program, I want to wish many of you a happy, happy Mother's Day.
Yes. Yes.
This is the highest calling
Yes.
outside of serving God, at least in my humble opinion,
Yes.
that we can have in our lives.
Yes. Well, I want to thank both of you, and unfortunately, we had some technical difficulties with Sister Harvey, so she wasn't able to join in the conversation because she was by Zoom.
Yes.
But I want to thank all of you, and I want to wish all of you a happy Mother's Day. And I want to say to the mothers out there, I hope the show has help you and encourage you. I know sometimes the children don't turn out the way you expected them to be,
It's okay.
but you can't give up on your
No.
children.
No.
No,
Um,
can't give up.
and don't compare your children to anybody else. Continue to be that mother. And I know a mother's love never dies, no matter what it is. Never always be there for your child. Because sometimes nobody else is there for your child.
Yes.
And the only person there for that child will be you. Even some dads are not there for their children. Some mothers are playing dual roles as mother and father. And I want to thank all the mothers. My mother's not alive. I want to thank all the mothers for what you've done in the lives of your children. Continue to be a role model for your children. Continue to encourage them. Continue to be there for them. And it's okay if they have some challenges. It's okay. Pray with them. And as Sister Lucille mentioned, the light of God is the path
Yes.
Yes.
in which you raise your child. And I think some of us, some mothers, some homes lack that godly heritage. And if you can put that God into your heritage, I believe things will turn around.
Can I just
Happy Mother's Day. Go ahead,
One
sister.
thing. Moms, we have come to a new dispensation. This season is different. I want to encourage you that as you pray for your children, take them to church.
Yes.
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 Take them to Sunday school.
That's it.
Take them to youth ministry. And if at all possible, stay for a while. Bring them to church. Don't send them. Bring them. And when you lay that foundation for them, God will amaze you
Yes.
at what He will do with those precious lives that He has given you.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Amen.
you.